First things first, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm alright,
Doing
thank you.
good. Oh, kind of tired.
How come?
The weather is so gray right now, and
Takes a lot out of you.
yeah, it really does.
We've just been on tour in North America for about a month and a half, and we had one cloudy day on the whole thing.
Okay.
So we had a month of pure sun, no clouds every day. So coming to Europe is a little, in the fall, it's a little bit of a shock.
It's a big shift.
Yeah.
Yeah, a big shift.
And no, like when we flew over here, we fell back. The time changed, you know, so there's not a lot of daylight right now, especially when you're playing shows and up until 1 in the morning and then sleeping until noon. There's, yeah, it's pretty.
You have like 4 hours of sun.
Yeah, 4 hours of sun.
Cloudy sun every day.
Yeah, 4 hours of
So
light.
our bodies are just adjusting to it right now.
Yeah.
I'm drinking a lot of espressos.
Yeah.
Just to keep you awake.
Yeah.
Does this affect the way you perform?
Not so much. You kind of get in the zone, I think.
Yeah, it does a little bit, but
Definitely changes your day.
changes your day. But then when you get on stage, it's always dark outside anyways.
Yeah.
But not too much. You can have a really bad day and play a really great show, I find. It doesn't really matter.
So, well, this kind of echoes the way you recorded your album, or the first part, because obviously you're from Montreal,
Yes,
and then you went to Arizona. So how come Arizona?
because of the sun.
So was it that simple?
Yeah. We recorded our second record, the one previous, in Montreal in the wintertime in a studio that we built in a one-car garage with no windows. So it was very small and very closed in and no sunlight. It's dark and cold and grey in Montreal in the winter. And we wanted to write songs on this one that were brighter and felt more expansive, and so going somewhere with sunshine and going somewhere isolated from a city environment was really important to us. So Arizona was warm in March, and we'd toured there before and loved how it felt. So
Yeah.
we just spent a few months looking on the internet for a place that we could rent that made sense, and managed to
drove
find
down?
one. Yeah, and drove together.
Yeah.
Looking back now, do you notice a big difference between songs written there and songs written elsewhere?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a big difference. They're a lot warmer. They're a lot more open, I guess. Like it feels like you can. How would I put it? Like you can approach the songs more easily as a listener. I feel like they kind of draw you in more. Whereas with Flourish Perish, it's kind of cold and kind of a little sterile, so it wasn't as welcoming.
So the mood definitely, you say, or you said that in terms of performing it doesn't affect you that much, the surroundings, but in terms of writing then it does.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
performing and writing are very different. Like performing there's a certain amount of improvisation and creative spontaneity, but for the most part you're like drawing on songs that have already been written and things that you've already expressed, and
You've already
whereas-
kind of figured out the emotion.
yeah,
of the
exactly,
song.
and you're trying to
Yeah.
like capture it or do it justice in a live environment, but writing the songs is you're starting from scratch. And
Yeah, you're finding the emotions and injecting the emotions into the song. So I think it's, like, we didn't really think about this before, but it's very important to have an environment that you want to translate over to the album.
So why did you need a change of scenery then? You say you recorded it in a small little room with no windows? But
Yeah, in the dead of winter,
Yeah, well, it was just
And-
like
it wasn't inspiring any longer.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like walking into the space that we had done, you know, it's been our jam space for 5 or 6 years, and we've gone through a lot of, you know, it's like stuffed to the brim with equipment, and we've gone through a lot of difficult things in that room as a band, and being in an environment that's brand new and that, you know, getting to inject into ourselves a different emotion and something new is really important to our creative process and to bringing some new life and wanting to express something different, you know, not wanting to do the same thing that we had done previously.
Yeah, and it was just really important going for walks in between
Yeah.
recording sessions and cooking meals together, and it was a lot more than just making music. It's like getting ourselves in the right zone to make music, getting ourselves in the right headspace as friends, and that's why we needed to go somewhere that was, I guess, like inclusive to that, and
and
allowed us to just like discover ourselves and each other, and dive really deep into the music without distractions. So.
And you say there were memories attached to the place in Montreal. So when you were isolated, what did you discover? You said about yourself and about the band.
When we were isolated in Arizona.
In Arizona.
Well, I think the first most important thing for us, especially now having looked back on that time period and being a little bit away from it, is breaking down a sense of like judgment or nervousness between us as people. So when you're in a band together, you're creating music together, there's, especially when it's a collaborative endeavor and there's not like one person who's leading the charge or anything. There's a lot of vulnerability there, and you're putting forth ideas that you don't know if they're going to be liked or not, and you want to feel comfortable to try anything, and you want to feel supported by the other people in the band in order to try those things, because otherwise you just end up writing the same record you wrote last time, and that kind of sucks. So that was the first and most important thing that we did while there, which was, not really write a lot of music, but more just like grow together again as people and come to a point of like shared confidence and not feeling scared or nervous about what we're doing, and being able to just relax and just write music and experiment and try different things, try things that before one would have been nervous to try in front of each other. Like, being able to in the case of Raph, sit and scream lyrics into through a PA system really loud that she's coming up with on the spot. Like, you can't just walk into a room and do that. You have to grow to that point. So that was really important.
In that sense, then, was there a turning point in that period in Arizona?
Yeah.
Do you know a definitive one?
Well, I just remember there was
remember the talk around the table that we had?
Yeah. We definitely had I can't remember exactly if there was a moment in particular, but we certainly we were there for a month and a half in Arizona, and we spent the first 2 or 3 weeks trying to make music and falling flat on our face, ending up in tears, ending up storming out, making music for 20 minutes and then dealing with the
feeling really insecure about it,
or spending 4 hours unwinding from
judgment.
Yeah, exactly. Or just trying to find our home with it. There wasn't necessarily a day or something, but it did quickly change. It went a couple weeks of extreme difficulty, and then a couple of days later it was all we were just cruising,
Yeah. It took a while. It took some patience of it being really uncomfortable.
But you mentioned these things, these elements of judgment. Were they self-imposed in a way?
Yeah, definitely.
They're always self-imposed.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not signed to Columbia, and they're not asking us to pop out a record that's super shiny and gonna go to the top of the charts or anything. There's just our judgment, being artists and being critical and wanting to constantly grow. We're not. The three of us, we don't like stagnation at all. We are constantly trying to evolve and constantly trying to push ourselves, and are too hard on ourselves sometimes. And I think that's what that 2-week process was, is how can we still be really innovative and challenge ourselves, but also be kind to ourselves, to allow ourselves to write. Because when you're beating yourself up, you can't come up with anything. So
we could, I think we could have definitely, we could have done it. We could have stayed in Montreal and not tried to do any of these things and written a record, and it probably would have been difficult to do, and we would have maybe been happy with it, maybe not. But it wouldn't have been the kind of growth process that we were desiring and craving as a band.
There's just no point. There's just no point
to
put yourself. Yeah, there's no point to put yourself through something that's really uncomfortable and painful if you don't have to. If you have that other option, and usually there is another path that's going to be a little smoother for you, and that's a little more natural for you.
In that sense, then, did you know what you were looking for, so to say, for the album?
A little bit.
We knew what kind of process we wanted.
Yeah, we knew the process, but we didn't know the sound.
No, yeah, and we knew that we wanted to. We kind of had a goal of wanting to write songs that that worked really well as songs, regardless of how they were being produced or what instruments they were on. We were listening to a lot of more like music from the
It's kind of
60s and 70s.
singer-songwriter.
Yeah, like Joni Mitchell and Leonard Cohen and Neil Young and things like that. That you know,
All
those
Canadians.
all Canadians. Those songs don't require, you know, they've been covered by 1,000,001 people and still sound great. They don't require a particular like production swell or something like that in order to work, which is kind of the zone we had been in for the previous record, and we really wanted to break out of that. Beyond that, we really just wanted to go there and experiment. I on the way down, we had all these talks about really wanting to not even have the mentality that we're going to write a record, because then you put all this pressure on it, but rather we just want to go and make music and experiment and do what feels right in the moment. And if something comes of it, then great. And if not,
then we
try again,
okay.
you know, at another time. And beyond that, that was the only kind of goal per se.
What was the first song that ended up on the album that kind of gave you this feeling of satisfaction? Or
I think Taste.
Probably Taste, yeah.
Yeah, Taste, I think, was the first one. It came about in a really funny way. We were really stuck with it, and we went for a big walk, and we came back, and we weren't really wanting to work on it, but we kind of knew we needed to, and so we put all the songs that we were working on into a hat. We tore out a piece of paper, wrote it down, put it in a hat, and then I was like, okay, we're gonna pick a song, or we're gonna
do it.
Yeah, we're gonna do it. So we picked Taste out of the hat, and we're like, this is the one that's so hard to finish, but then we finished it.
what made it so hard? That song.
We were just stuck with, like we had some chordal movement.
Chorus.
And a great chorus, but then like
Nothing.
we didn't know how to get there.
We didn't know
and
the
some
verse,
songs, we have tons of songs like that are just like we have like 30 seconds that are magic, and then the rest we just can't figure out how to get to that point or what to do with it, and then they sit on the shelf, you know, and like we never release them, we never do
like
anything with them.
That chorus had sat on the shelf for like a year and a half. Like I think we finished that chorus at the end of Flourish Parish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we sat down and figured out the verse, and then it all came together. Yeah, it was good.